What's good, y'all? I'm Mike Crenshaw. On across the street. Peace.
Born to fight, born to win, embodiment of light in the form of man. Born to fight, born to win, embodiment of light in the form of man. Born to fight, born to win, embodiment of light in the form of man. Born to fight, born to win, embodiment of light in the form of man. It's all over, it's just beginning. Apocalyptic Armageddon where you live.
Oh my goodness, I am here today with town legend Mike Crenshaw.
What's up, Jimbo? What's up,
Thank you
people?
so much for joining the show. This has been a really big one for me, I can't lie. My biggest to date, so appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
For those that don't know Mike Crenshaw, why don't we just start there? I know it's only a 20-minute program, and let's just start there.
Okay, so that's me. Abbreviate the name, appreciate the game, MC. I either bring or alleviate the pain. And I moved to Portland in '90 for a brief period. Kind of checked out the scene because my mom had moved out here with my sister.
Happy birthday, by the way, correct?
To my mom, yeah. Rest in
Correct.
power. You know,
Power,
Irish
yeah.
Crenshaw Johnson raised us all, my brother, my sister, and me. You know, and she relocated out here after her second divorce, and we're all out here now. My brother, my sister, all the cousins of the shorties. Peace to the family. So, you know, I came in '90, I left, and then I've been here since '92. Shortly after I got here, I started doing hip hop and spoken word because I figured I was working all types of odd jobs. I needed to do something that was of myself and not just showing up making money for other people. With my labor, shortly after I started doing hip hop, I met some local heads. Took a trip up to Vancouver, BC for all elements hip hop contest. Shout out to DJ Chill. He won DJ Sound War.
DJ Chill.
Way back then, he won.
Yeah.
So that was that period in '93. I was going out by myself, going to shows by myself. La Luna opened up. It really kind of put Portland hip hop into my awareness as far as like the lyrical style. You know, cats from North and Northeast were doing more of a gangster style influenced by the Bay or LA. There was a lot going on. Quadrilyrical, Five Fingers of Funk. Shortly after that, we started Hungry Mob. David Parks, Larry S., Steve Spirit, myself, a handful of other folks. Shout out to Tory Greenwood, you know, Todd Strickland, Tahoe Jackson, Catone Lyles. So we had a live hip hop band for about 12 years. And then somewhere around the decade and 12-year mark, I started branching out, going solo as Mike Crenshaw, because it was a lot easier to travel than trying to get like 6 grown people on I-5, and you know, it was just tough. And then trying to get guarantees that would feed a whole band, versus me going out with a DJ or you know my laptop even.
Groups
that was the
are
beginning.
hard to keep together anyway. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, around then, that was about the beginning of the solo career, and I've been doing it independently ever since. You know, I have Global Fam is our lifestyle production company. Education Without Borders is a 501c3. I'm the president of that, and we do a lot of work with cultural activism, combining social justice activism, which is a major part of my background, art, culture, entertainment, and education. And we've been doing that probably since about 2000.
You know, speaking of some of that, I did get a chance to watch the Baldies documentary. Super proud to know you as a friend, first of all, to see what you've come from and how that whole thing, I learned a lot.
Right on.
So very informative for those that haven't seen that yet. I definitely would recommend taking the time to check that out.
Right.
How did you get involved in that? How did you get involved in the film? Let's start there, I guess. How did that come about?
So big shout out to David Roth. He had produced, he was in the punk scene in Minneapolis back in the day in the 80s and 90s. And he had observed it and we had a lot of mutual friends. And he produced a 7-part mini-series for Minnesota Public Broadcasting about the punk rock scene in the 80s, focused on a lot of the bands.
Sure.
And a lot of people saw that, but the documentary ended right about when the Minneapolis Baldies had started to develop. And so a handful of folks who knew about the story of the Baldies were like, you know, in response, they were like, what about the Baldies? And of course, some of us Baldies were, we enjoyed the first series. We were like, it would be awesome if there was one about us.
Oh.
So we reached out to David. David reached out to us, and we went into production, about a year ago. It happened quick.
Wow, that was
he
fast.
did a lot of work.
That was fast.
He did a lot of work. He talked to a lot of folks. Shout out to Ian Westmoreland. He interviewed me out here, and then we sent the files, and then we arranged the 35-year anniversary. And all of us that could make it came, and the result is in the documentary. But I'll say this about the Baldies for those that don't know the story: we were an anti-racist skinhead crew, and in order to survive our street conflicts that were violent against organized white supremacist gangs and hate groups, we had to build a network of like-minded folks who were fighting against the same elements in their cities. And that, at first, it started in the Midwest with a handful of cities: Chicago, Minneapolis, Columbus, Madison, Milwaukee, Lawrence, Kansas, and we had a huge meeting and combined our forces, and that was the birth of not only the Syndicate for anti-racist skinhead crews specifically, of which we were one, but also anti-racist action for people that weren't necessarily anti-racist skinheads. And then that went on to become a national network.
I was really educated in the fact, being a journalist, I was upset that the spin put on the Sharp movement or whatever it was, how the media had a lot to play with that controversy of trying to divide people within a great movement.
See, I think what's fascinating and enlightening now is a lot of the news we're hearing about Facebook and how social media operates to elevate certain algorithms that rely on negative emotional responses: fear, hate, anger, frustration, and so forth. These are the same methods that commercial media has also used, for generations, actually. Well, how long has it been around? For decades. And so we want to say that that term, if it bleeds, it leads. So the Nazi skinheads were more of a sensational element for them to highlight. And in doing so, when they did that in the 80s, it caused an explosion of people who wanted to identify with that across the country. And the fact that they did not highlight our story kept our movement less exposed, which there are pluses to that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We look at today, we see the same types of things happening over again. It's just, I think the decades have gone by, things are a little bit more escalated because white supremacy is more mainstream in the militant sense.
No, great documentary again, super informative, really cool. I don't know what to say. As a filmmaker, I hope one day I get to be involved in something cool like that. But
Right on. Yeah, man.
What have you been doing otherwise, Mike? I know you just got done with the project that you did with the Friends of Noyes there, J Prodigy. Really cool. That was great to see. You're always involved with the youth, of course, but super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, the Friends of Noyes, Andre Middleton and I were doing basically a black hip hop show in the park, and we were looking at all these young performers that were not only hip hop artists, spoken word artists, poets, singer-songwriters, but they were also supportive and members of what was happening in the streets behind the movement for Black life. And we decided that we wanted to, try to get together all these young people that were in Portland public schools, that were artists, since I have been working as a teaching artist in the schools, and also get them together with artists involved with the Black Lives Matter.
You had the Oregon Symphony
movement.
involved?
And eventually, Outside the Frame got involved, and through their connections, we were able to reach out to Oregon Symphony. Big shout out to Outside the Frame. And
That was awesome, yeah.
And all the young people, and then McDaniel High School came into the fold. Big shout out to Jesse the Imaginer, and Jeff Loth. And so we've been supporting and facilitating.
Oh, Jeff Loaf was part of that. Oh,
yeah.
Shouts to Jeff. Yeah.
Getting these young people who are dope MCs and artists in the studio. Big shout out to DJ Stretchman on the beats, and getting these music videos together for these songs. So we're hoping that this becomes a long-term project, and that we can really contribute to exposing more and more talent, of these young artists.
You see how much there is out here too. I mean,
Oh,
there's
it's
a ton of
crazy,
it.
man.
It's nuts.
The fact that we were able to get Oregon Symphony on board, it just adds, I think, it adds a richness and complexity to the already dope tracks to see, you know, the 8 live instruments, the strings, you know, the wind and everything on there. So big shout out to them for that.
So I tell this a lot to the kids on my show. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Right.
If there's one person that has had a microphone take them the furthest distance that I can think of, it's Mike Crenshaw.
Wow.
You and Versatile have traveled the world, I feel
Yeah.
like, with the microphone. You've done shows in Russia.
Yeah.
Where else have you been?
Russia, Cuba, Germany, Tanzania, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, South Africa.
Man.
And did I say Germany?
I don't.
I've been around, man.
Again, I don't know anybody that's traveled with the microphone quite as far as you from our town.
Give thanks.
yeah,
You know, it's one of my passions is waking up in the morning in a place that I've never been to and getting a good cup of coffee and people watching and just being thankful for the fact that life has taken me to places it has, you know.
We were just standing on the street corner 2 minutes before we started, and someone walked by and said, "Are you Mike Crenshaw?"
Well, you know what's crazy is that, so we're in Portland, right? And that happens, right? And I don't think of myself as like somebody that's commercially, you know, successful, the type of person that just oversaturates the covers of magazines and so forth.
Sure.
However, that brother that I just met knows a brother that was banging on Nazis with me back in the 80s. That's from Chicago. So he follows him on Instagram.
Oh,
And so he recognized me probably from the documentary and you know, from Box Cutter Brigade. Shout out to Box Cutter Brigade. Yeah, man, archival master in terms of the culture.
Speaking of archives, I got a little
Yeah.
fun thing here I found. I'll let you take a gander at it here.
All right.
Shouts to Jessica Rose. She's a local little video historian here who supplied us with a video. It's probably hard for you to see there, but you can take a look at it. But that's you in 2010, roughly, I believe, at the
Everything Drive.
Drive.
Shout out to Jesse Sponberg.
Ozone.
Ozone out there in Hawaii doing his thing.
He is out there.
Yeah.
But that was a neat little segue to some stuff I was digging around and finding. I thought, oh, what was the name of that song you were doing there? You remember?
Okay, so this is Shrapnel, and this is on the, I think this is on the Superheroes EP.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I can't even remember my producer for this one.
That's circa 2010 then, roughly?
Yeah, roughly 2010. If it's not on Superheroes, it's going to be on the Earthbound.
Okay.
Yeah.
That event looked pretty cool. You guys had a good time that night. It looked like you raised a bunch of coats and hats and good event.
Yeah.
Good event.
It's a trip seeing footage and realizing how fast 10 years just evaporates.
Skips by. I know, right?
Yeah, man.
You got anything coming up in the future here? Any shows or performances or places where people can see you anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm doing a thing, like I've been doing a lot of virtual shows, doing a thing with Poor People's Army out of Philadelphia this afternoon. But, you know, by the time the folks see this,
This is going to be out in a couple hours, Mike.
it's going to be out in a couple hours. So, yeah, that's going to happen this afternoon.
You got a flyer for that?
It's on my stories on Instagram.
I'm going to add the flyer right next to Mike right there. You take a look at that.
At Mike Crenshaw, you know.
Yeah.
MICCRENSHAW. And then I'm going to be, the next big show is at Alberta Abbey on New Year's Eve. It's going to be myself and Swiggle Mandela. A lot of people are busy right now, so it's hard to get, you know.
Is that a bill that's growing then as New Year's?
I'm trying to put at least 2 more acts on there because everyone I've been reaching out to is not available for various reasons. So yeah, Alberta Abbey on New Year's Eve. And I think that's about it for, you know, stuff out in the community for a bit.
Dope. You want to give the PSA a little special love or something to the city here so we can kind of wrap this up? We're running through about 15 minutes pretty quick here, but I'd like to give you a nice little time to give a little message to our city here.
You know, I'm just, I'm proud of the work we've been doing. Those of us who are veterans in this scene, I could shout out people you know, on and on, but I'm afraid I'm gonna forget people.
Sure.
So, you know, if you've been supporting not only yourself and your family off of what you're passionate about, you know, your creative imagination and art, power to you. You know, it's not easy to be out here doing that. And if you've also simultaneously been paving the way for others who come behind you and elevating the platform for other people that you can see were just like you know, then more power to you. And on top of that, if you're able to come together and create a network and solidarity, that's how community is. We create a net, you know, and we help elevate and uplift each other. And that's one thing I can say has been happening in this city for years. We could always do better, and we're going to continue to strive to be our best. Big up to Portland hip hop, you know. Big up to all the fans, all the comrades, all the people out there. And thank you to you across the street.
Appreciate you so much. I brought you a gift. Here's your official Across the Street tee.
Wonderful.
You can rock that, do whatever you want with it.
Hell yeah, dog.
It's such a great pleasure to have you on the show, Mike. I really do consider you a town legend in my eyes. So.
Thank you, brother.
If there's anything I can do for you in the future, you please let me know.
I will.
Other than that, what are you gonna do with the rest of the day?
You know, I'm gonna, like I said, I got a show at 5 o'clock.
Show at 5,
PST
all right.
this afternoon. I'm gonna try to maybe pick up some parts for my bike, but just kind of play it by ear, you know. To try to take it easy and enjoy the sun, because this time of year in Portland,
We're almost done with this. Look, everything's turning colors.
Right.
It's coming down.
No doubt.
Well, thanks again for your time, Mr. Crenshaw.
Thank you.
I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Peace, y'all.